So this is our student login screen. Basically, it is hosted on localhost 8080. So first, what we have to do is we basically have to create an account. So for account creation, what will I do is that I'll basically click on this create account button. So it will basically uh, show me the credentials I have to put in to create a student account. So firstly, uh, I have to write the first name and last name of the student I am registering. Like if I do like Q and W, the first and last name, and email, I set it like q@gmail.com, and let's suppose my password will be 123. For now I'll not tick this graduated flag, and I'll explain it later. Now I'll click on when I'll click on register button, it will basically register a student on the name of Q and W as his first and last name, and also with this email address. So I have clicked it, and it has basically created a profile for the student on the name Q and W. And what we are told to do in this assignment was to also implement a CRUD operation also. So I have basically showed you how to implement create, and here also we can also update our name, which basically shows the uh, CRUD operations also. Like here we can delete our account from here, or here we can update our account. So CRUD operation is being performed here also. Apart from that, when we look at other functionalities we had to implement in this assignment was to just enroll some courses in. Okay, so here are some dummy courses which I can get enrolled in. Here are 4 courses. Like if I want to get enrolled in this course which has ID 1 and Introduction to Java, then I have to click on this button. When I click on this button, it will basically change its flag to already enrolled. Here I can show it. So it has changed its flag to already enrolled. Now I want to see in which courses I am enrolled. I have to go to this tab, enrollments tab, and I can see here that the previous course I have been enrolled in, which was Introduction to Java. Apart from that, when we basically get enrolled in a course, it simultaneously creates an invoice uh, associated with that course. Like this is basically an implementation of that finance service which we had to implement, which we were told in our assignment. So it will basically simultaneously create an invoice and a fee for this account also, which we can also see by clicking this tab, with this invoices tab, and filtering this applying this filter. So it basically is showing my invoice which has been created against this course, this Introduction to Java course, and it basically shows a status of outstanding here. So when we go to this graduation tab and see our graduation eligibility, it will basically show me that I am not eligible for graduation right now, because I have some outstanding bills which I have to pay, which basically by navigating here I can see I have basically currently an outstanding bill I have to pay. When I'll just pay this outstanding bill, I'll be eligible for graduation also. I'll show you how I can get eligible for graduation by just also withdrawing this course, and it will basically change its status to cancelled, and it will basically uh, make me eligible for graduation. So here I'll come, and when I tap this withdraw button, it will basically withdraw me from this course, this introduction to Java course, and also it will parallelly uh, cancel the invoice which was generated against this course. So I'll let me show this. When I click this button, and it will basically pop up this notification. It basically asks me if I am sure if I have to cancel this course, withdraw from this course. So when I click this withdraw button, it will basically unenroll me from this course, and I'll click here OK. So it has basically unenrolled me from this course. When I navigate back to the invoices tab, it basically shows me that this invoice status is cancelled, like the invoice which was generated against my enrolled course. Now it has been cancelled. When now when I navigate back to this graduation eligibility check and click this button, now I am eligible for graduation. Cause the reason is that uh, I am not having any invoices against me, or invoices generated against my profile. So now I am eligible for graduation. So this was also one of the requirements of our assignment, to implement this check also, and also this invoice status also we have to show, which is generated against all the courses I have been enrolled in, or any any invoice generated against any book I have published from library. I can also sort these lists based on these statuses like outstanding, paid or cancelled, and also the tuition fees which I have to pay, like the tuition fees or library fees against my uh, courses or my library issues. So this was basically the front end of our assignment. Also, I can uh, show you how can we sign out, and also uh, delete an account also. Uh, when I click this delete account, it will basically navigate me back to the login screen, or which from which I can basically create a new account and again log in to a new profile. So here let me delete this profile. Now I can delete it. So I have deleted this profile, and which basically is permanently deleted, and all the invoices generated against these profiles are also will be also deleted. So it has navigated me back to the login screen, and now I can also create a new account with the different names, or the same previous names, E or R, or when I do this e@gmail.com. Let me correct this, gmail.com, and also set a password 12 for our reasons. We can choose any other password, and then I hit register, and now I'll show you the sign out and sign in process. When I sign out it again and sign in back again, like with the same credentials, e@gmail.com, and 12 was our password, and sign in, then it will basically log in to that account. I also can update this my account, my first and last name. Let's suppose I want to change my name to QE. It will basically also change my names, and profile is also, name is also updated. These are all the CRUD operations and all the functionalities I have to implement in this front end functionality or my assignment. So thank you very much. So this is our backend of our project basically. So here you can see a typical uh, Java Spring Boot architecture where it is divided, where our project is divided into different layers, like this is controller layer. I have also used a DTO here, and apart from that the model layer is here, and the repository layer is here. Apart from that the service layer is implemented here, and these are the front end files which we have implemented in the resources folder. When we first look at the controller folder, then we can see that I have created two different Java files here, one with the name student profile controller and one with the name course enrollment controller. So first of all, let's explore student profile controller, and then after that we'll parallelly move on to its service layer, which is basically named student management service. So if we look at student profile controller, then we can see that there are different APIs, different controllers implemented basically, and it is accessed through this slash student REST API, and additionally I can say that I have implemented this in REST API, these controllers in REST API. So through this slash student REST API, we can access these different controllers, which basically performs different type of functions as it is stated in the assignment we have to implement. So what this verify controller do is that it basically verifies a student firstly by just uh, checking that if student exists or not, and if the student exists, then it basically pass this test and moves forward, or and if the student is not found, then it basically shows us a message student not found. When this verification is complete, then it will basically call the student service, and in the student service layer it basically calls this student exist function, which basically performs any kind of fetching and verifying, and then it basically verifies the student and logs in to that student profile. Apart from that, we can see some register controllers here to register a student, and also a login controller to log in any existing student with its credentials, basically compromises of email address and login password. Apart from that, we can see that through ID this through using this slash ID controller, we basically fetches the student profiles. And apart from that, if we want to update any information, we can use this put a REST API. And apart from that, if we want to delete any student, we can use this delete mapping. And to get the graduation status of that student, we can use this get mapping graduation with additionally passing an ID, and then we can check any student's graduation status also. Now moving on to our service layer, and parallelly we implemented with this student profile controller is this student management service. Now we'll explore this student management service. So moving one by one, we can see that this register new student uh, function, what it do is that it basically takes university student object, and then using this object and checking this email if it already exists or not, it passes on this test and moves forward. Apart from that, it also just checks if this student password also, and moving forward, this basically what this do is that it basically saves the student first of all in the student repo, and next it basically saves the student and it basically creates a new user. Okay, and additionally it basically also parallelly creates, when this student is created in student service, it also parallelly creates our student accounts in the library service and also the finance microservice. And this answers our question is that where is our integration, our services integrated, the other services integrated in our student is answered here. That here we can see that this basically this API call, or this API call is basically linked to that finance service, and this is basically linked to that uh, that library microservice, and here it is basically implemented and integrated. Both those finance and library microservices are implemented and integrated here, which basically parallelly creates accounts in library and microfinance, library and finance microservice parallelly with the student service. So here is the first step in which we have integrated our both those microservices. Apart from that, if we move forward, then here we can see that to authenticate any student, we use this function, which basically checks the password and the email to all the emails and passwords which is saved in our database. And apart from that, when we move forward, we see some small functions to get any student profile, and also to check if any student exists or not, and also to update any student profile which basically compromises of its first name and last name. We had to update. Apart from that, when we see here, this delete function is a little bit important for explanation, is that here if we want to delete any student, we basically this function basically takes a student ID and it checks that student ID inside that student database, and it if it finds that, then it moves forward and basically clears all the registered courses firstly from that student profile. Apart from that, it basically saves that student. What this will do is that first, uh, why we are first saving here is that we basically first want to clear all the courses which were registered again against that student, and then saving will do is that it basically saves this, and those courses which are registered will be cleared. Moving forward, uh, remember that we also had created two accounts, one in library microservice and one in finance microservice. We, before deleting the student account, we have to delete those accounts also parallelly from those two microservices, and that that function is performed here. First, we are deleting the student from the finance microservice, and then we are deleting the student from library microservice. And once again, I am showing the integration of those two services, that if we want to delete any account from those microservices, how we can do. We can do that just by calling these two APIs. Okay, and here again it is again our again those two services are integrated here and here they are again integrated. And finally we will basically delete that student from our repo, which basically eventually deletes that student if the required student we want to delete. Moving on, we also wanted to check our graduation eligibility, and through using this function we can check it by just going and getting the student profile. This student profile will check any registered courses or not. If no registered course is against it and no invoices against it, then the eligibility will be true and he or she may be he or she will be available for graduation, and then we will save that status and return true or whatever the eligibility status will be. Moving forward, this all invoices what this basically do is that this checks any invoices if there is any invoice generated against that student or not. Moving forward, when we move forward, this is the same function which basically checks the student invoices or not. Also we can see that here again this finance microservices integrated here. This finance microservice, what this API do is that it basically fetches any finances, any invoices which is generated against that student, and it fetches that, and also it basically sends any notification or any status that this student has any finances or any invoices generated against him or her. So again here are finance microservices implemented here. Now moving to our course enrollment service. This is just that service which what it will do is that it basically registers any student in a course and updates any list about those courses, or enrolls or unenrolls any student from any course. Now we can we'll just explore this also one by one. So here when we see the first function, this function enroll in course, this function basically enrolls a student in any course by just taking student ID and course ID. It basically checks first if those student or courses present or not, and then it basically checks a student if he or she is has already registered in that course or not. Apart from that, it basically sends a payload, and the payload basically includes the student ID, the amount of that course, the status of that invoice, which will basically be tuition fees and all the other payloads, and it basically sends that payload to this service, which is basically again implemented here and integrated here, the finance microservice. Again here the finance microservice is implemented here, and it sends to that finance microservices for the saving, and that finance microservices will basically get this payload from the student service and saves this invoice against that course which is generated against that student profile. Moving forward, when we see this get enrollments, this will basically gets the enrollments of or any courses enrolled against that student. And this function, what this function do is that it basically unenrolls any student from any course. Parallelly, it also deletes those invoices which we have saved earlier by using this payload here against those student, and it basically deletes deletes those invoices here. Again, this our finance microservices is integrated here. Moving forward, when we fetch any student invoices, again this finance microservices is implemented here, and it basically gets all the invoices generated against those students and sends it to front end for any just showing the user. This is the same functionality which we have discussed, that it basically returns any invoices against that student. So all in all, this was our backend, and these was our integrations which were basically implemented, and I have shown you each and every integration of the finance and library microservice which is implemented in the student service, which was our main service through which we were doing all the operations. So now, when talking about the approaches and the alternate approaches uh, to implement this project, then I had two options to implement this project. One was monolith, the other was microservices basically. So the microservices through which I have implemented this project right now, which was the requirement of our assignment also. I'll talk about both of their pros and cons one by one. First of all, monolith architecture is basically talking about its cons, sorry. Uh, it's harder to scale up. Like we cannot scale any monolith project, scale up any monolith project. For example, if I want to add a feature to any monolith project, then it will hard for me to implement that project in that monolith project or service. Uh, Apart from that, it is basically monolith is basically easier to implement. Like the implementation or to start that project is very easy. On the other hand, if we talk about microservices, it is basically scalable and independent. Like every in a microservice services project, every service has its own database, has its own layers, has its own communication system, and it won't affect any other microservice. If for suppose any one microservice goes down, then it won't affect any other microservice. So it is basically scalable and independent, and it is easier for me to add features to these microservices if I want to. So it won't affect any other services in this case also. But the communication between those microservices is a little bit complex, and complexity arises while you try to communicate between those different microservices. So talking about this project, as we know that student microservices communicating with library and finance microservice through what I called before the REST templates. Okay, so it makes a little bit communication easier, and also to send data back and forth between these three microservices uh, is implemented through REST templates or REST APIs. And talking about database and ORMs, then uh, these three microservices use different databases for their operations. Like this student service, which is the main service of our project, this student service uses H2 database for data storage, Apart from that, other two services, the finance and the library microservice, they both use uh, MySQL and MariaDB for their data storage, and they basically communicate through the object relational model, and it is basically communicated through that ORM. So apart from that, also uh, I have provided concrete examples of how I implemented the database operations like this. Uh, when I show a specific example here, so yeah, this basically what this line do is that this basically saves that student in the database. Okay, this student through this student repository, it basically saves that student object in database. This is how I implemented the and given some concrete examples. Apart from that, talking about dependency injections, then I used Spring's built-in DI for like the auto wired to inject services into controllers. For example, when I go to this controller and for example I show you this here, this auto wired, what it basically do is that it basically injects that service, that student service into this controller, this student profile controller, and this is how DI is implemented. Also, I have implemented the the DI methods like this using this auto wired, and also I have provided some concrete examples of the dependency management also. Let me show you here when I go to this pom.xml, and here this dependency basically shows you how the student Spring Boot starter security is working also. Okay, and moving forward, so apart from that, the services now are integrated through what I called earlier is REST templates. So these services are communicating with each other through REST templates. Let me show you one example. Here you can see that this REST template is basically what this REST template is doing. This is one of the examples. Okay, so this REST template, what this is doing is that this is basically communicating with this service, uh, this finance service, to send the data back and forth with the student service, and same goes for the other integrations of the services uh, between student and library uh, or finance service. Also, using REST templates was simpler to set up and sufficient for the system. There were other options like gRPC, which basically would added complexity. So that's why, and also used for large scale systems and real time systems. So that's why I have used REST templates, which was suitable for my project. Apart from that, the microfinance services all were implemented on their places, and also for API gateways or the communication between front end and back end. For the communication between front end and back end, I have used this API gateway, the REST templates, yeah, REST APIs for the communication, and it goes through this uh, slash student controller and communicates with other controllers like these slash course, slash enrollments, and slash enroll. So apart from that, there is this project which is a functional microservice project with three microservices to run. library and finance microservice. It covers all the aspects of assignment, like the service integration, the configuration management, the dependency injections also. So thank you very much. So now we can move towards our backend functionalities, how our code is working. First of all, we can see that I have created different layers for my project, and there are modular layer, there is repository layer, there is service layer, and also there is controller layer and all that. Firstly, we can see that student profile layer. This what this does is that this basically implements all the CRUD operations which was stated in our assignment to do. So first of all, when we see the student APIs or controllers here, we can see that we can move step by step to explain this. I can so the register controller, what this do is that this basically gets a new student which we have registered by giving our login by giving our credentials like name, first name, password, and email. It will receive this new student and pass it to service layer, and this service layer firstly checks the student if it is already registered or not, and then after bypassing this, after checking this, then it proceeds to creates a new student and saves it. Apart from that, this login credential basically gets email address and password, pass it to student service, and this student service, what it do is that it basically first it basically gets that student, authenticates it by using that email address and password. Let me yeah, so it authenticates the email firstly by checking it. If the email is present, then it checks that password against that email, and then it basically logs in that user. And apart from that, this will get the information about the profile based on ID, and this updates the ID, the name, and the surname. Apart from that, we can remove a student from our repository from our records. Also, when we register a student by this function, we parallelly create two accounts in finance service and in library service also. These are the integration. These are two APIs which we hit to parallelly create one account in finance and one account in library service also, along with our student account. So this is the basically how we integrated these other services in our, and this removes student function. What it do is that it basically deletes the student first from our it clears all the courses related to this account, and apart from that, it basically deletes the student in the finance micro service which we have created earlier, and then deletes it from student also. And this graduation check, what this do is that it basically sends the ID of the student and checks if any student is eligible for graduation or not. How it works is that it basically checks if any invoices are generated against this user or not. If any invoices are generated, then it checks its status. If that status is cancelled, all the statuses are cancelled, or no invoices generated, then he or she is eligible for graduation. If there is any invoice created or outstanding invoice, then he or she is not eligible for graduation. Apart from that, this what this course controller do is that this basically uh, functions to just enroll any student in a course, derolls him or her, or withdraws any courses, or and get all the invoices and courses of any student. This enroll controller basically sends the course ID and student ID. First it checks if it's present or not, and then it basically sends this payload. This when when the course is added to the student's uh, profile, then it also basically parallelly generates an invoice uh, by uh, by sending this payload to this link, which is connected to finance microservice. Apart from that, when this basically gets all the enrollments related to the student, and this basically gets all the bills related to the student. Apart from that, this withdraw function basically unenrolls from the students from the course, and also cancels the related invoice generated against that course which he or she may be registered in. Like, firstly it checks the student, and then also it basically sends a cancel request to finance to cancel that invoice generated against this course. So this is the overall functionalities which we had to implement in this assignment. Thank you very much.